Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on Full Moon Fridays here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel with another amazing, incredible, fantastic full moon film. I don't know. We're going to talk about it tonight. Over there in Sweden, we have our good friend Borp.
Hello, I've been told this is a fan favorite.
It's my favorite, my personal favorite.
And Matt is a fan, so technically that
Technically,
is
yes. And of course, also here in Nebraska with myself is Steve.
true. Yep, I'm here. What are we, like, we gotta be halfway through the series now, right? At least?
They keep pumping out more and more of these things. I mean, there could be 4 more released before we're done.
Never going
Who
to
knows?
end.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? So yeah, tonight we're going to talk Puppet Master 2. This is directed by David Allen. This is the guy who did all of the stop motion effects for the Puppet Master movies early on. I think 1, 2, and 3. David Allen was one of those sort of, I guess, key cogs in the early Full Moon crew arsenal, in which he created a lot of these sort of like the moments that we remember, such as, for example, in this movie, Blade jumping off the bed and running towards the girl with the knife. Charles Band would then recycle this footage over and over and over and over and over ad nauseum for all of his
Does
films.
he credit people when he uses stock footage? Does he, like,
Oh yeah.
give the person that originally filmed that thing a credit in the new movie?
Yeah, and I will say, like, we give Charles Band a lot of shit, but he did do this really cool thing. So just a brief aside about David Allen is, I think in, gosh, I want to say the early '70s or something, he started started creating this full stop motion epic called the Primevals. And he worked on it because, stop motion takes forever to do, but this is a whole full feature length film. And he would only work on it in bits and pieces throughout the years. And he went to Charles Band, I think in the '80s, at the height of Charles Band's power, when he still had Empire. I think he was like, "Hey, I just want to finish this movie. If you could just give me enough money to finish this movie, it'd be great." And Charles Band was like, "I don't have the money to be able to finish what this is going to take." So over the years, David Allen worked a little bit here, a little bit there. He did all the stop motion. I don't know if it involves dinosaurs, very Ray Harryhausen esque. And then, unfortunately, in 1999, he died of cancer. So David Allen had an unfinished, like, his magnum opus, the thing that he had been working on for like 30 years at that point. He had it in a state where he had most of the stop motion done, but he didn't have anything filmed with like actors and things of that nature. So fast forward to a couple years ago, Charles Band got the money and he actually finished Primevals for David Allen. And I think they just premiered it last month at some film festival. So the Primevals, he finished it for his friend David Allen, which is nice. It took him a long time, but he finally got there.
I don't know that I'd want present day Charles Band finishing a movie.
I haven't seen it yet personally. I'm interested to see it, if nothing else, for David Allen stop motion, because I think we all love the stop motion effects of the puppets and things of that nature. So I'd be interested to see it for that. But the Primevals may be coming to a Full Moon Friday soon. But yeah, and this Puppet Master 2 is my personal favorite Puppet Master. I think that this actually, upon rewatching this for this episode, this might have been the actual first Puppet Master movie I actually saw. I might have seen this before part 1, because this came out immediately after part 1. And basically, part 1 was such a huge hit for Paramount. They said, Charles Band, stop what you're doing, because he was making a million other movies. Put all your resources into Puppet Master 2. We want a sequel to this immediately so we can cash in. So I think when we discuss kind of maybe the flaws of this film, it was, hey, you got to rush to get this thing out as quick as possible, sort of thing, because the big movie studio is paying our bills and telling us to do this. And this came out real soon afterwards. But this was always my favorite, for various number of reasons I'll talk about as we discuss the film. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think, because I certainly see the flaws in it. Borp, I know you mentioned something about the pacing. I think that's the fundamental flaw of this movie, is the pacing of it. But David Allen did direct this, so basically he went right off doing the effects for the first Puppet Master, and they said, "Hey, go ahead and direct this." He had never directed a feature film before. So I think that adds to it. But he did double duty. He did the effects of the puppets and he was directing the movie, which I can't even imagine how crazy that would have been. But yeah, so that's kind of Puppet Master 2. You guys have any initial thoughts? What were you feeling like when you were going into this one?
I was excited for this one because I liked Free a whole bunch. I knew that was another one that was considered sort of a fan favorite. I've heard not just from you, Matt, but other people who I've talked to about this franchise now that I'm going through it. People are like, oh, wait till you get to Puppet Master 2. That's a good one. So I was excited for this going in. Came out of it not as excited about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. And I think we'll get into it. But I think for me, I didn't love Puppet Master the original, um, but that one was like weird and interesting. And we had this conversation recently about like what makes a movie boring. Like when you say a movie is boring, what does that actually mean? And to me,
Hmm.
I've had sort of a hard time organizing my own thoughts about this movie because like for a lot of this, I was just so bored, and it ultimately comes down to the pacing. But yeah, we can get into it.
Steve, what were your thoughts heading into Puppet Master 2?
I was excited. I again, I like good guy puppets, so three's always been my favorite. But I remember two being very entertaining. I remember the ending especially being really cool and fun and interesting. I was excited, and yeah, I want more good puppet movies. I feel
Okay.
like we're not going to get them from here on out.
Well, take us through it. How does Puppet Master 2 kickstart?
It starts with the puppets digging up Toulon's body. Apparently, we learned that like right behind the Bodega Bay Inn is a cemetery, and they just essentially carried Toulon's body out to the backyard and buried him there.
Like a
And
pauper's
so the
grave sort of thing almost.
yeah, the puppets dig him up. They pour the last of their puppet juice onto his corpse, and that revives him. Then we
Can I
cut
ask
That's
you
a
guys?
to
cool opening.
our
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Borp.
Can I ask you guys a question? Do the Okay?
Sure.
This
yes,
is a weird question to ask. Fucking 8 movies into this. Do the puppets need a master to operate? Because here they're just
there are no
sorry.
there are no rules for the puppets.
Okay,
If that's your question, like how do the puppets work? Don't just put that out of your head. You just got to go with it.
Yeah, because I guess the idea in this is, I mean, the thread of the idea is they have to have Toulon because Toulon knows how to create the magic juice, and the puppets don't know how to make it. So they have to have him to be able to continue living.
okay,
But they were acting on their own though to dig Toulon up.
right.
Right, right. But they're going to lose their juice, and they need him to. He's got the secret, right? He's the puppet master. He knows how to bring these things back to or keep them alive. The puppets themselves
Okay,
don't necessarily know how to do it.
but the puppets have free will.
Until they don't, and then
Great.
until they
I'm
do.
glad we cleared
Yeah,
this up. Let's continue.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to say
No,
I love that. I love the opening sequence to this.
yeah,
I love the lighting, the atmosphere of it. I love that the puppets go and sort of like dig him up, and you see like his nasty, arms, rotted arms come up. I remember watching that sort of as a kid, and this opening scene really hooked me because I was like, oh, I just love how this looks. It looks different than all of the other Puppet Master stuff we've seen so far. It harkens back to that, and this film has a very huge influence from the Universal movies of the 1930s. You know, obviously Toulon looks like the Invisible Man, and they've mentioned like a shout out to Lon Chaney and stuff in this. There's all kind. You could see that David Allen really loved those original sort of spooky, atmospheric, Wolfman esque gothic thriller type things, and that comes across in this opening scene, which is something that I really love. So I love the opening scene.
yeah, agreed. At some point, I want to get back to Borp's point and try to figure out how do we think the puppets work? Because sometimes the master's in control, sometimes they're not. Sometimes the puppets can't function at all without one. Sometimes they're completely autonomous. It's just they do whatever the writer of the film says they need to do in order to move the plot along. Uh, anyways, so yeah, Toulon is revived. The opening scene, I 100% agree with Matt. Opening scene, super cool. Then we meet our main cast of characters. They're from like the U.S. Bureau of Paranormal Claims or
Which is where I
some
want to work, honestly.
yes.
Like,
Basically, like they work for the X Files. Whenever wherever Mulder and Scully were stationed at, that's where these people are. They are going to the Bodega Bay Inn because I'm just going to cover it now, but we get kind of like spoon fed the backstory throughout the movie. But the backstory is Megan Gallagher, the survivor of the previous movie, was found dead, and her brain was extracted through her nose via a hook, like Egyptian mummification, and presumably it's never outright stated, but presumably that is Megan's brain was somehow used to revive Toulon, or I don't know, because it's a little iffy because the puppets need Toulon because they don't know how to make reanimator juice, but then Blade, prior to reviving Toulon, killed Megan to get a part to make reanimator juice that they don't know how to make. Go with it. It doesn't necessarily flow
I
logically.
wonder why they couldn't
Megan,
show that. Like, did the actress who was in the first one be like, "Nah, I'm not coming back for this," or was it just it was filmed so shortly after the previous one? She's like, "I got another job. I can't do it." I wish they should have shown that. That would have been cool
there's a
to.
lot of deaths in this movie that they should have shown more, and
Yeah.
clearly they did not. Anyways, the one of the main characters from the previous movie, Megan, is dead. Whether or not her brain was involved in puppet juice is left unclear and nonsensical. The other survivor from the first movie, Alex, he went crazy after the event of the first movie. He was committed to an asylum where he talks about the evil at the Bodega Bay Inn, and so somehow, some way, these characters heard about Alex, and Alex pointed them towards the Bodega Bay Inn, and so now they are like a paranormal investigation team. They are going to try to find evidence of the paranormal within the Bodega Bay Inn. So there's four characters here, and I only know two of their names. Like the main girl is Carolyn, her brother is Patrick, and then there's just like two people that watch screens and bang each other. I don't know what their names are.
Wanda is Charlie Spradling's character. I don't remember what the other guy's name is though.
All right, well, it's Wanda and other guy is what they will be called until someone figures out their
I'm
name.
seeing a Michael in the cast list. Could it be Michael?
Could have been.
Michael is Camille's son, so it's not
Oh, okay.
Michael.
All right.
Other guy, screen monitor guy is there. We get a woman who is this woman meant to also be a psychic? Her like Camille,
I think
like she's
so. Yeah.
very all right. She's very eccentric, and she's trying to get directions to the Bodega Bay Inn and meets these two like redneck country bumpkin people, and they start screaming at her like, "Oh, the Bodega Bay Inn's haunted. That's where Satan lives. He's booked all the rooms, and at night brimstone comes out of the chimney."
It's so
And then
weird because they're on the coast, but this looks like rural Tennessee where
yeah,
it's very weird. I'm like the dichotomy of like this is not what the California coastline looks like. This is not.
yeah, it's like you cross the street and suddenly like you're 2 centuries behind
Yeah.
with the place that you just left.
That
Anyways,
guy's a great Buck Flower, by the way. If anyone out there who doesn't know who
yes,
Buck Flower is, go IMDb him
he
because he's
is
been in a million
he
things.
he is he is oh, that guy. He's gonna be one of them.
Buck Flower.
But anyways, so we have our four paranormal investigators plus Camille, who is a psychic. They go to the Bodega Bay Inn and start investigating. Not a whole lot happens. Patrick, the brother, Patrick is Carolyn's brother. Patrick and Camille are just constantly antagonizing each other. Camille like believes that she saw some puppets, but then no one believes her because there are some baby dolls in her room, and she's like, "Fuck this noise!" Like, I can tell that I'm in danger, but I'm not gonna leave now. I'm gonna like give the danger a couple hours to chill with me, and then tonight I'm going to leave. So later that night, as she is packing her bag, uh, Pinhead and Jester kidnap her. And Matt, Jester does something.
He
He doesn't
does.
kill
He
anyone,
does. He
but
gags her.
he gags her.
See?
Uh,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
so,
Jester in this.
There is a lot of Jester in this, which is one of the reasons why I think this was the first Puppet Master movie I actually saw. Because I remember, they have a million shots of Jester spinning his head around, looking sad, doing all this stuff. And I think, I can't be 100% certain, but I think this was the first Puppet Master movie I actually ever watched. And I love Jester from this movie.
All right. Well, Jester gags Camille, and he and Pinhead kidnap her. And the rest of the movie, Jester is sitting in a chair looking sad.
It's not a
Uh,
chair; it's a throne. Steve, he's
ah,
sitting in
yeah.
his own throne. I'm just throwing that out
Ah,
there.
okay, fair enough. Well, Jester sits in his throne and looks sad for the rest of the
Well, he's
movie.
dying. He needs
Uh,
more juice.
he sits in a chair and looks sad for the rest of the movie. Tell me how anything that I just said is inaccurate.
Toulon tells him, "Hey, I know we're trying to get the stuff right. He can't do anything because he's running out of juice. That's why he's sad."
And the result of that is he sits in a chair and does nothing the rest of the
A
movie.
throne,
And there's
Steve.
that scene where
It's in the
where
throne.
Toulon picks him up and he's like, "Oh, Jester, you're so sad. I feel so bad for you."
Yeah.
Anyway, so Camilla's been kidnapped. Uh, Later on, Camille's son, who is Michael, shows up to look for her. Uh, but no one is like very like bothered by the fact that Camille has gone missing. They're not even bothered by the fact that she left all her stuff. Like Carolyn has a phone call with Michael before Michael actually shows up, and Michael's like, "That's normal. Sometimes she just leaves. That's just who my mom is." So Camille is gone, and no one really gives a shit. Um, Later on, Patrick goes to bed, and on the camera, uh, Wanda and screen monitor guy see Tunneler like go into Patrick's room. Like they have like footage of Tunneler moving on his own, and so they're like, "Oh shit, we got to go. We got
I,
to run to his room and save him."
I
But
like
we're gonna be
this.
very go ahead.
One second. I love this because in a typical movie like this, the audience would see Tunneler run in, and it's like, oh, they're trying to get on each other and they miss it. They don't even see it. I love the fact that they literally watch this puppet run in on its own and they're like, what the fuck? I thought that was an interesting, just small little thing where it's like, oh, put yourself in that situation. We'd all do the exact same thing, right? What the fuck was that? And run to the room to try to help our friend.
Yeah. But you run to the room really quietly. Like you don't
Yeah,
yell at all. You make no noise as you're
exactly.
running to the room to save your buddy. But they're too late, and so Tunneler drills Patrick in his forehead and kills him. Everyone else runs in again. Carolyn is Patrick's brother. They beat the shit out of Tunneler, and they have Tunneler is like dead or like inactive now. Uh, so then the next morning they just, I guess, put Patrick's body in like the Bodega Bay Inn's like frozen
So
pantry.
weird.
Like, isn't this guy like a federal agent technically? Like, shouldn't he have
Yeah,
a dignified
it's weird.
Like
funeral?
they're
Shouldn't
like,
you tell someone this happened?
yes, they tell no one. Like they don't call the cops. They don't call their bosses who are the feds. They're just like, well, let's put him in the freezer and continue on with the investigation. What's the need for further investigation? Like they have proof. They have on camera the
Right.
paranormal activity that they wanted to.
This is standard operating
Yeah.
procedure with American government
Uh,
employees, Borp.
like
This is
the
just
investigation is
Okay.
over. Like it's an open and shut case.
Oh, I love
Uh,
that they literally have footage of Tunneler going into the room. He looks so mischievous as well when he goes
yeah.
into the room.
He's like looking
yeah.
around, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no cameras on me, is there?
That made me
Uh,
laugh.
but they're like, fuck it, continue on with the investigation. Then Michael shows up, Camille's son, and he and Carolyn are immediately like hot for each other. Like Patrick's been dead for 12 minutes. Carolyn has already moved on and wants to bang Michael.
Yeah.
So Michael and Carolyn begin spending time together. Then in comes Toulon, and he gives a fake name, but he says, "Ah, yes, I was in Bucharest all this time, and the previous owner actually like left me the hotel. Like this is my property now. There's no paperwork or anything to attest to that, but yeah, I live here. This is mine. You all are welcome to stay. Just don't go into my
Yeah.
room." And to be fair, the characters don't believe him, but then they still do nothing. Like they just like, all right, we'll continue on with the investigation. We'll follow up on this bullshit story later.
Yeah.
And Toulon looks like
Yeah.
the Invisible Man. He's like
Yeah.
wrapped from head to toe in bandages. He's got goggles on his eyes, wearing the black hat and the coat.
Like the
He
type
looks
of
he looks
dude.
super
Yeah,
cool.
the type of dude. Like if we were all hanging out here doing a paranormal investigation, and this guy just walked in, is like, "Hey, I'm just gonna be in the other room. Don't mind me." I think we'd all leave immediately.
I
Uh,
think we'd have left after we had footage of Tunneler killing someone. Well, the investigation's over.
Fair.
Successful. Like they can go into their ghost
Yeah.
notebook and check the three pieces of evidence, like inanimate object moving, drill head. Clearly, this is a puppet ghost. And then you leave and you collect your $300 from
They,
Phasmophobia. Like they did it. They won.
they've been working probably working their entire lives to come to this thing, to this like piece of evidence. Paranormal activity is real. And they're like, cool, let's continue.
we need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if this was before or after Toulon shows up, but they do have that cool sort of sequence when they have Tunneler and they've got him like splayed open and they're looking at all the gears and everything in it, and then Wanda is like looking. They have this like computer monitor that's doing like a scan of Tunneler's body. She's like, she looks at the camera like so serious, and she says something like, "This could be the greatest discovery of all time," or something like that. Like, yeah,
Now let's look for
yeah, yeah,
more.
yeah. You got it. Why don't we just take the puppet and the footage and hightail it out here? Nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope.
But anyway, so
Also,
all the
sorry.
play.
Also,
Oh, God.
new
Go ahead.
Andre Toulon actor, right?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
not William Hickey, and
Yeah.
this is not Guy Rolfe from the next movie.
So,
Yeah.
okay, this is the third one we've seen. Okay,
Yep.
Yes.
all right,
Yep.
cool.
And
They should have gotten William Hickey. Like they wouldn't have needed makeup for him.
I don't think the guy in the flashback is the guy in the wrappings either. So I think we might be 4 Andre
Okay, okay.
Toulons in at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about the flashbacks. I don't remember exactly where that happens, but there's a flashback to 1912 Egypt, and Toulon is this like world famous puppeteer, and there's a sign that says "Come see Toulon's world famous stringless marionettes," and then he's putting on a show, and clearly there are strings on these puppets, and I wasn't entirely sure what was going on. Was stringless meant to imply that he had found a way to hide the strings? Because according to Puppet Master 3 and Retro Puppet Master, he had already known the secrets of Puppet Juice for 10 years previous to this. But of course, that was a prequel. It hadn't happened at the time here. But I didn't understand why they were calling him the stringless puppeteer when clearly he's up there with the little puppet control units, like moving these puppets. Regardless, a sorcerer comes and sees the puppet show, and his eyes glow, and that sets everything on fire. And so then point out anything that I said that was incorrect.
No, it's all right. It just sounds so stupid when you say it like that. Like you're revealing the stupidity of the story with your
Oh,
brevity
this
of words.
story is so stupid. Like
Yeah.
this makes no sense whatsoever, and I love it, but it makes
Well,
no sense whatsoever.
that whole thing is so weird because when that the glowing eyed guy pulls the thing off and you get that, I don't remember what that puppet's called, but it's like that green stop motion
Yeah.
monster puppet thing. He starts he's like, "Hey man, all the kids, think of the kids. Think of the children out there. These electronic gizmos are taking them away from viewing puppets and they're not super excited about it anymore. So you need the secret to bring all the kids away from the television. Even though it's 1912, there should be no TV. I don't even know what these electronic gizmos was that he was talking about. Maybe movies. I don't know. And it was just so funny where it's like the children, and then Elsa's like, "Yes, Toulon, the children. We must think of the children." I just kept thinking of that Simpsons meme where it's like, "Can't we all just think of the children?" It's ridiculous.
Sorcerer guy is weird.
Yeah.
The sorcerer guy just is just like I want he just wants to pass on his knowledge of puppet juice and just gives it to Toulon, even though again according to future movies Toulon already knew this for 10 years, but we won't talk about that. So what's going on with this flashback? Like this flashback is I'm really hung up on why Toulon was being called the stringless puppet master when he's clearly using strings. Uh, anyways, according to this movie, that's who gave Toulon his power. A wizard did it.
And in this movie,
So
Toulon's thinking about this, right? This is Toulon's own memory, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So
yes,
it should be the real. I mean, this should be the actual
Yeah.
canon of what happened, but
Yeah.
turns out to not be.
I'm sure
Unreliable.
anyone who's doing a headcanon will just be like, Toulon's brain has rotted. Like, isn't that the now canon explanation per the comics that Toulon
True.
is evil in this movie because his brain
Yes.
has rotted?
Yeah, so there is a comic book series out there. Anyone who does love Puppet Master stuff, that I guess it was a super Puppet Master fan, and he attempted to explain every inconsistency in a comic book series. So maybe we should get a hold of that and we can read it.
Okay.
And then, after we're done with this, and then do an episode of just the comic books and how it ties everything together.
If you're going to try to create headcanon to try to fix this, why? And you're already going to say that Toulon is evil because his brain is rotted. Why wouldn't you just say that Toulon's like rotted brain is misremembering things? Because the story that this writer came up with apparently is Toulon learned the secret to puppet juice in 1902, and then 10 years later learned a second secret for puppet juice. It makes this story is fucking stupid. Regardless, according to this movie, like a wizard gave Toulon the secret to puppet juice, and Toulon uses that for the future.
I'm having like a hard time even like rattling these movies inside of my mind, like because I watched them in chronological order. So I'm like, you guys are talking about this, and I'm like, yeah, right. I guess technically at this point in the movie, in the order the movies came out, all we know about Toulon is he's this puppet master guy that got shot to death in a hotel room, and this is the second movie. Uh, so
Yeah.
like I am like so confused about everything you guys are talking about.
It
Yeah, and
it
this is
makes no sense.
and
Like,
this is a perfect example of Steve's thing, is like, if you do prequels, it fucks up the story that was already established later on down the road if you do it incorrectly.
yeah,
This is a perfect example of a franchise who's done a million fucking prequels, and it has screwed the storyline up so much that there is no real canon of this
yeah,
series. I
they've
mean, there's nothing.
they've destroyed any possible sense that can be made of the story. So yeah, if you're gonna do a prequel, do it right, and if you can't do it right, don't fucking do it. Looking at you, Charles Band. Anyways, so we that's Toulon's backstory. Toulon also believes that Carolyn is the reincarnation of Elsa. I don't know why he believes this.
I
He
don't
just
either. I have
believes
seen
it.
I have seen this movie 2 dozen times over my life, and I still to this day do not understand why he suddenly thinks that this random woman is a reincarnation of Ilsa. No idea.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all the backstory. Let's start talking about like puppet kills until we get to the end.
Yeah.
The goal of the puppets, Toulon is one, he wants to reclaim Elsa, and two, he wants to make more puppet juice. And apparently, puppet juice is made out of human brains, or is it? I don't know. He wants puppet brain. He wants people brains to make puppet juice. I'm not going to try to figure out how any of that works. Like, am I to believe that fucking William Hickey was out there like stealing brains from people prior to him killing himself in the Bodega Bay Inn? I don't
according
know.
according to this movie, you are. I mean, he needs. Maybe he was going after Nazi brains, though.
Yeah, maybe these
Uh,
are all Nazi
hmm.
brains. Anyways, so he needs brains, and so he sends his first. He creates Torch, and Torch is awesome. Torch
Oh
is
yeah.
like such a cool looking puppet. But he creates Torch, and then he sends his puppets out to hunt. Um, the first people that get aside from Patrick, the first people that get attacked are like the two country bumpkins that Camille interacted with, and Leech Woman, Blade, and Torch go after them. Uh,
This is the thing about Leech Woman in this. Leech Woman, when she is introduced, she's not spitting up leeches. She's got a fucking knife and she's jabbing it into that guy's head, taking out
yeah.
brains. So it's not some stupid. Leech Woman doesn't even spit up a leech in this, does she?
There's not a
No, maybe they
Yeah,
realized that was fucking
yeah.
dumb
yeah.
because I'm pretty sure like Leech Woman's not even in the future movies, is she?
No,
I mean,
no,
she dies,
because there's
dies.
there's a story in this Full Moon book that I read where Paramount hated the fact that she was spitting up leeches, and so they wanted Leech Woman to get killed in this movie. So no leeches from her, and you got to kill her because we don't want this puppet in any future thing at all. They thought she was too gross and disgusting. So it is kind of interesting that you see Leech Woman just have a knife and she's chopping up a
Yeah.
guy, and then she gets
And
burned.
she's much cooler and much active in this than
Oh
she is in
yeah,
the first movie.
yeah.
Like I still don't understand how leeches are supposed to do anything to people. But anyways, like so these two like hicks are in bed, and Leech Woman just crawls on top of this guy and starts stabbing him in the head and cuts out a chunk of his brain.
I
And
love the
then
wife where she's like, "I told you to start doing that somewhere else, away from me, or whatever." She thinks he's Buck Flowers jerking off next to her, and then she looks over. No, it's just Leech Woman stabbing him in the brain, pulling out his stuff.
and then she gets up and she starts having a fight with the puppets. Like Leech Woman is kind of like stalking. The woman grabs a shotgun. And Leech Woman is like stalking her around the house, and like knocks a porcelain doll off the wall to distract her. Like Blade stabs her in the leg at one point, which causes her to trip and drop her shotgun. But then she grabs like a frying pan and just smacks the shit out of Leech Woman, grabs her and throws her in the furnace. And so Leech Woman is burned to death.
And where a
Um,
movie is supposed to be coming out, which is like Furnace Leech Woman or something. It's supposed to
Of course.
explain what happened to Leech Woman after she gets burned in this furnace.
Everyone's been asking that question.
Yeah.
yes.
Charles Band's ready.
For
Yeah.
30 years, we've been like,
yeah.
what happened to Leech Woman?
Exactly.
So Leech Woman is dead. Then Torch shows up and just torches her, and it's awesome. Torch again is so cool.
He
Uh,
barely
it-
shows up in any movies going forward.
I know it's weird. But he's on. I think he's on like the box art to either 4 or 5, and is still not actually in the movie of which he's in the box art.
Yeah, well, the story behind that is it was just too expensive to use Torch, because whenever they wanted to film anything with Torch, they used real fire, and they didn't have the funds to be able to have actual stunt people who could burn and stuff, and so it was easier to just never use Torch from this point forward. He's definitely
All
awesome,
right,
though.
well,
Charles
yeah,
Band
Torch is
owned the
cool. So
castle at this point. I feel like he could have coughed up some more money for these
Yeah,
budgets.
yeah, that's true. That's true. 100%.
maybe it's because he owned a castle that he didn't have money for
Yeah,
fire
yep.
for Torch.
Castle in Italy, no
Anyways,
less.
and then he lost it.
Yeah.
Good job, Charles. Anyway, so this woman is dead now. So they bring back this woman's brain chunk, and Toulon is upset.
He's like pissed. You cooked it, you sons of bitches.
Yeah,
I can't do anything with the well done brain.
Toulon can't use the brain chunk because it has been burned, and he chastises Torch. He's like, Torch, you fucking idiot! Like I can't use it. Bitch, you gave him the
You signed the
flamethrower.
puppet. This is all he does. His name is Torch.
He burns things.
He has one job, and he did it. And you're upset with him.
Yep.
Toulon is the weak link here. So Toulon chastises them, and but then sends him back out. And so like the next day, Torch kills a kid. Talk about things that we should have seen on screen but didn't. But Torch kills a kid, and presumably takes his brain.
Well, I love this scene because it's really fucking weird. The scene with this kid starts. He's got like this GI Joe, and he's whipping it, like whipping the back of this GI Joe, saying, "Oh, Nazi scum" or whatever. And then when Torch comes out of the bush or whatever, this kid is trying to play with Torch, and I'm surprised, Steve, that you didn't write this down, because the kid's like, "I'm the director. Do what I say," and then Torch's eyes close. Just lights this kid up, and I was just thinking to myself, I was thinking to myself, is this really the moment I wanted to become a director here? I'm yelling, "I'm the director. Do what I say." Is that where the genesis of my my desire came from when I was a little kid? I don't know. Now I'm questioning my entire childhood. Was it really John Carpenter's Halloween? I don't know.
This kid is pretending to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But he apparently saw some weird version of Indiana Jones where Indiana Jones was like torturing people with a whip. I don't know. It's very weird, but Torch kills him, so now the kid's dead. And at this point, we've kind of run out of other characters beyond like the paranormal team that's left. And so Toulon continues to be creepy towards Carolyn. Carolyn and Michael are like basically already in love after knowing each other for 18 minutes after Patrick is dead. They go to town together and they watch a sunset on the beach. They investigate Toulon's claims and they find out that no, like there's no record of Toulon's alias owning the Bodega Bay Inn, so they know that something is sketchy. And this guy Michael is already being like creepy towards Carolyn. Carolyn's like, I want to go investigate. I want to see what Toulon's up to. And Michael is like, no, you're not allowed to do that. Like he's just like already like trying to put her in her place. They've known each other for 27 minutes at this point. It's very weird. Like the relationships move very fast in this movie, which is probably another pacing issue.
There's a
Uh,
weird sequence when Toulon wants to dance with her, and like that whole sequence is just bizarre. It feels uncomfortable and weird, but again, it goes too quick. There's not like an extended sequence. It's just kind of like, can I cut in here like immediately? And then Toulon does that weird thing where he breaks the records, whatever, and is like, "Oh, sorry," sort of thing. Again, the whole storyline where Toulon suddenly just loves this woman, thinks it's Elsa, makes no sense in this entire thing. No setup to this at all.
yep. So then the puppets kill Wanda and TV monitor watching guy whose name I still don't know. Like he is just being like he's being stabbed in the throat by Blade, and then Wanda comes in and sees her and like runs and falls and presses herself up against the wall, and then we get the really cool shot that everyone remembers of Blade like running towards the camera, like swinging his blade back and forth. We don't see much of their deaths, but now Wanda and TV monitor guy are dead,
What's funny
and so
about that Wanda scene is, of course, that's where you get your obligatory nudity in this, right? She's in bed, and she gets up, and she's topless, and she goes and puts on a shirt. But when he comes out of the shower and he goes and lays next to her on the bed, she's like disgusted that he took a shower after banging her because she says something. She's like, "I'm used to guys like hosing off after they've been with me or something." I'm just like, this is weird. Like, this is a normal thing people do. Like, you get hot, sweaty, so you go take a shower, and it's just more comfortable. Like, what is happening? Weird
yeah,
writing
very
here.
strange. I'm trying to think, like, was she mad that he took? I couldn't tell if she was mad that he took a shower at all, or like I also thought while watching this, like she's mad because like he went to take a shower after they had sex and he was in there forever, but I couldn't actually
Well,
tell.
the right
It's either
play
way, it's
here
pretty
is just
strange.
to invite her in with you while you're
But
taking
yeah,
a shower.
she
That's the
definitely
correct
wanted.
play. Like, well, you don't just leave. I'm gonna go take a shower. Sorry, come on in. I don't know. It's weird.
Regardless, it's weird, and they're both dead now. So TV monitor guy and Wanda are both dead. So now it's just Toulon, his puppets, Carolyn, and Michael. And Toulon's like, "Fuck it, we're pulling the trigger on this." The puppets go get Carolyn. Torch, I want you specifically to kill Michael. And so Carolyn gets taken. Torch goes and tries to set Michael on fire, but fails, and Michael ends up like hitting him with a fire extinguisher. Meanwhile, Toulon is upstairs. He's got Carolyn tied to a chair. He tells her, his backstory, and then he brings out these two like life-size puppets slash mannequins, and these things are awesome. These things are so fucking
They
cool.
look
Uh,
disturbing as hell.
mhm,
They look
they
really
do.
disturbing.
But his plan is he's going to transfer his consciousness into the male mannequin and put hers in in the female mannequin, and so they can go back to living their lives. Even though like I don't know Toulon's motivations outside of get Elsa, because he says like I'm gonna go, and at some point he says I'm going to go and restart Toulon's famous stringless puppet show. But then he also kind of reveals to the puppets like, yeah, this new puppet juice is really just for us. There's not going to be any left over for you all.
Yeah,
But then he also says he makes repeated references to half a century. Is there some fact about the puppet juice
I,
that I don't remember that it only revives you for 50 years?
the,
There's a lot going on. Like, none of it makes any sense.
the moment he
Uh,
brought out these life-size, huge puppets, that's where I felt like I completely lost the plot with this movie. It didn't make a lot of sense before that,
yeah,
but I'm like, this is so such a strange choice.
yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah.
He his motivations are all over the place.
But
But ultimately, of like the four motivations that he has, reviving Elsa or reviving himself and living with Elsa is the motivation that he chooses to follow. Matt, do you have something?
well, I was gonna say what's sort of weird about this also is he reveals essentially to the puppets like all of this, none of it's for you, right? It's for her, and that's what gets the puppets pissed off. You see Jester's sad face because Jester realizes he's gonna die now because none of it is for him, and I'm just sort of thinking like, well, why doesn't he just continue killing people and keeping his friends alive after he's in these mannequin bodies, right? I could see a really cool movie with that guy as a killer with the puppet thing with the puppet, and they're murdering people and creating new puppets and stuff. They could have went off on a cool direction with this, but instead he just betrays the puppets, which it's ultimately the same ending that's in the first one, where
Yep, I
the
thought that as
bad guy
well.
betrays the puppets and the puppets turn on him at that point in time. So yeah, it was weird. It's bad writing.
Yeah.
Bad
So
writing.
Toulon is about to enact his master plan. He tells the puppets like basically I'm betraying you. Like this puppet juice is just for me and Carolyn slash Elsa. And so he here's the way he takes all his bandages off and he is this like decayed like zombie person underneath. And he takes the man mannequin and like tilts its head back, puts a funnel into its mouth, into the mannequin's mouth, and then Toulon says some magic words, cuts his throat, or sorry, he says some magic words, drinks from like I don't know the magic chalice, and then cuts his throat and like bleeds his throat blood into into the funnel, and now the male mannequin is Toulon, and he's going to do the
That's how
same
it's
thing
done.
to Elsa, but then he starts making animal noises. And there's a moment that I did not I don't remember this scene, but it's in the movie where I think it's the moment when they return from killing like the country bumpkins, and Toulon says something like, "Oh, you're such good puppets. Like you could be lazy puppets and bring me like the brains from brains from the recently deceased or animal brains, but you're so good about bringing me fresh human brains." And the puppets kind of like, and then
Yeah, Andre. Yeah, yeah.
they pay that off later because the puppets did in fact bring Toulon some animal brains, and so Toulon in the middle of his speech just starts making animal noises. And he's mad for like 2 seconds. He's like, "You damn puppets, you brought me animal brains. Guess I got to make the best of it." And he just goes on with his plan. Um, but before he can kill Elsa, the puppets have gotten all uppity because they've been told that they're going to be betrayed. And so Jester takes like the chalice away. Uh,
Another thing.
Pinhead.
Takes the chalice away. Jester's doing shit in this movie, fellas. He's
mm,
doing shit.
Well, I think like Pinhead maybe or no, so Blade stabs Toulon in the leg, and so he trips. Pinhead has like a walking cane, a walking stick, and just smashes his hand with it, and like Toulon's hand like shatters like porcelain, and there's green puppet juice just like leaking out of it, and there's a cool shot where he picks up his arm and like the sleeve in his shirt is just hanging limp because the whole like limb is missing now. uh, Torch burns him. Uh, Michael comes in and rescues Carolyn. They run away together. And then we get the like the real ending of the movie, where it is the puppets have transferred Camille's consciousness into the female mannequin, and now this Camille mannequin is the actual puppet master, and she's got like a VW minibus like van, and it's like Camille's wondrous puppet show, and she's looking at a map, and Torch is sitting in the passenger seat just being like, "Yay!" And she's reading a map, and she's like, "Oh, I should have gone left at the crossroads. We're trying to get to like the Braddington Institute for Mentally Ill Teens and Tots, and we're going to put on a puppet show for these crazy children. And if anyone sees anything weird, they're crazy. So who cares what they say?" And they drive off, never to be seen again. That's the movie we need. I need
Yes.
Yeah.
Camille Puppet doing a puppet show in a mental institution.
Can you
But that is
imagine?
the end of the
Can you
film.
imagine an entire Puppet Master movie where it's Camille and the puppets killing children in a mental institution?
I imagine it nightly.
That would be an amazing movie. Charles, we know you're watching this. That
No,
is
no,
the
no.
movie.
Yeah,
Don't give it to him. You can't trust him
Oh, it's
anymore.
true.
Give it to someone that knows what they're doing.
Okay,
if there's
that's
one
true.
person I trust can depict mental illness in a really good and respectful way, it's definitely Charles Brand.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
that's Puppet Master
This
2.
movie this movie makes no sense. I still love it. Like I have such a good time watching this movie. So it's like I don't know if this is one of the few movies where I still have the ability to just turn my brain off and sit down and enjoy it.
Sounds like
Uh,
it.
but yeah, even though like I was very aware of the nonsensical nature of this plot, I had a great time watching it. The ending with Camille is like just one of my favorite things. It is so good, and I'm so sad they never followed up on it.
Before we get to my thoughts, Borp, your thoughts. You came out
Eh,
of this, you said, not as enthused as when you
Yeah,
went in.
yeah. I didn't hate this, right? And I think on the last show with the original Puppet Master sounded maybe a bit more negative than I actually am on that movie. And here it's like kind of the same thing where uh, I think this movie has a lot of problems with its writing and pacing. And like the writing, I can forgive because like whatever, it's a fun puppet movie. Like all these movies have had problems with the writing, but the pacing one really got to me in this, where it's like I was trying to sort of formulate my thoughts on this, and I was like, oh, because initially I was like, the pacing is so slow, but then I was like, no, it's actually not slow. It's just really inconsistent. I feel like every scene with Andre Toulon and the puppets just drags on for so long. And he speaks so slow, and his accent is so bad, and it's like it's this thing where now I've seen 8 of these movies in a row, and I feel like there are some problems with all these films that like because we're doing these every week. Now that I'm watching the eighth film or whatever, I am like more annoyed by these problems, and pacing has been a huge one for me. And I feel like in this one it was a bit more egregious, where it's like these movies consistently have pretty cool shit in them, but it takes so long to get to that. Um, and I feel like hearing that this production was rushed, that makes sense. Um, and yeah, then there's this other part of me that like actually really thinks this might be the best one we've seen, except for the Littlest Reich, when it comes to like actually giving these puppets personality. That's something
Mhm.
that really stuck with me. You of course have that moment we talked about with Tunneler where he's like looking over his shoulder like, oh, is someone recording me? We have the moment where like Torch jumps out of the bushes right before he kills the kid, and he's got his like mouth wide open like, hey, look at me. It's like so stupid. It's like so stupid, so much fun. You have that moment where, but Leech Woman is just hacking away at this guy's brain with a knife, and like all that stuff is so much fun. You can tell that this was directed by someone who like really put an emphasis on these special effects. But ultimately, I think for me, it like took a little too long to get to those parts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on when it comes to the pacing of this movie because I think the last movie we talked about. I think the total runtime of the puppets was like 5 minutes in the original Puppet Master movie, and I said it that on the last episode. I was like, man, I have this memory that there's even less puppets in part two, but that turned out to not actually be the case. It feels at times like there's less puppets because of exactly what you're saying, Borp. The pacing of this is just so weird. Like there'll be long periods where there's no puppet stuff at all. They'll cut to scenes that drag on forever, where they could be cross-cutting back to other things, put puppets in different parts of Bodega Bay. You could be cutting back for. I think if someone were to re-edit this, it would feel a lot quicker than what this final edit was. So I 100% agree with you. I can totally see the complaint. It's a valid criticism, honestly, of the pacing and how it's all over the place and weird. That being said, still fucking love this movie. I love this movie. When I was rewatching this, I'm just like, this is to me the sort of epitome of taking Littlest Reich out of the equation, because we all agree that's a completely separate thing. But in terms of the original Puppet Master movies, this is exactly what I think of when I think of Puppet Master. I think of a lot of puppets doing cool stuff, burning kids, killing kids, doing all kinds of weird shit. Andre Toulon, bad guy, manipulating puppets, looking like a bad guy. I love the effects work in this. I think even when Toulon takes off his bandages and he's all like decayed and stuff, I think that looks cool. The opening scene, that sort of atmosphere, that universal sort of atmosphere. I just love everything about this aside from the pacing. And I really love that, I rewatched it again, and I never sort of lose that sort of joy of when I'm watching this particular movie. Again, my criticism of three, I like three, but they're all good guys. I like one, but they're barely in it. And this was the one, that the Puppet Master movie, that really gave me a lot of puppets. They're all bad guys. They're doing shit. You get that sort of. This is a far less horny movie than the first one, I think we'd say. But you still get, like, I had a huge crush on Charlie Spradling when I was younger. She was in a bunch of Full Moon movies. She was kind of like the Tiffany Shepis of that day for that time period. And so, like, I think she's got a fun, spunky personality. I just love this one, and the ending is awesome. The ending on this improves on the ending on the first one, because the first one is cool. Like, Toulon, or the guys, they turn on the guy who's trying to steal Toulon's secrets, and that's cool. But this does the same thing but better. You got that creepy mannequin thing. You got that cool kind of stinger at the end with Camille, the Camille mannequin, and it's one of those movies. I just love it. I just love it. I make no apologies for loving this movie. It's still my favorite Puppet Master movie. I'm going to include Littlest Reich in that just because I have such a nostalgia for this one. My nostalgia, you add that component into my already love for this, that will override the Littlest Reich, even though I think the Littlest Reich is probably a funner movie in terms of just puppet carnage, so to speak. But love it. Love Puppet Master 2. It's all downhill from here for me as we journey on through the rest of this franchise, because 4 and 5 are next, right? In the
I
timeline?
was actually just looking that up. So the chronological timeline from Wikipedia is no longer there. And so
Oh, okay.
I don't know who removed it. Something like History's Greatest Villain went in there and edited the Puppet Master Wikipedia page.
Unbelievable.
Uh, so I can't tell. There are some charts that say we actually should have watched Curse of Puppet Master. They think Curse took place in between 1 and 2.
Oh.
Uh, and some of it says it takes place after 5 just because it came out afterwards. I say we split the difference and we watch Curse next. I'm sorry that we have to watch Curse
Okay.
next, but I think we watch Curse next
You are
and then
history's
we watch
greatest
4 and
villain.
5.
Okay, Curse of Puppet Master. Yeah, we'll do it. I mean,
I can't tell if that's right. It's just there's multiple charts I'm finding on various
well,
message boards.
if
We
we
we were trusting Wikipedia and now that chart is gone.
if we do Curse next, that can only make 4 and 5 look better. So
That's
Okay.
I
true.
agree. I agree with that. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
All
we're
right.
gonna do Curse next. Oof.
What do we have left? We've got Curse, we've got 4 and 5, then we've got the clip show.
Doctor
Uh,
Death, right?
Doctor
When does we got
Death.
to find out when Doctor Death
I
is?
think Doctor Death is like modern day. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
Uh, Puppet
because
Master
I
versus
remember because
Demonic Toys.
Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, and I'm gonna throw a curveball. I think we watched Demonic Toys before we watched Puppet Master versus Demonic
This is
Toys.
never ending.
Oh, you want to watch? Okay, so you want to watch the original Demonic Toys before?
Before we get when it's time for Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, we watch Demonic Toys first.
Yeah, because Borp needs the full backstory of the
Yeah,
demonic
he needs
place.
the lore.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He's got to understand the canon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and
But Curse is next.
Okay, Curse
Curse
is
is next. Curse is next. Jesus Christ. I mean, Borp, you're gonna get the greatest hits, buddy. You're gonna
Alright.
see. You were like, hey, there's moments of these films that are great.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get them all slammed together in one movie. You're gonna love it.
Wait. So is Curse the clip show?
No, the clip show is Puppet Master: The Legacy.
Oh God. Okay.
But I'm pretty
Right?
sure there's lots of clips in Curse. I think they go back and show the greatest hits in that. There's multiple movies in which they show the greatest hits of the Puppet Master franchise. We'll find out together, fellas.
Okay.
We'll find out together. So yes, thank you everyone. We're all positive on Puppet Master 2. Go check that one out. It's on Tubi. You can watch all of these movies on Tubi. So every single
No,
one.
you can't. No, wait, you can't. Sorry, I was thinking of YouTube because I was looking ahead and trying to think, are the next movies on YouTube so I can watch them on 1.5 speed, and they're not.
Oh,
So we have to watch the rest of them at normal Tubi speed.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I've been watching them on Tubi, as you can see in the background here. There's a scene with what's her face and what's the guy on the beach looking very. Hopefully, we didn't get to the Charlie Spradling boob scene yet, because I'll have to censor that.
We did.
Okay. Well, no, I usually rely on Steve to be like,
Okay.
"There's tits on the screen in the
Oh,
background."
you should not. I have not been calling all of them out. I was
Damn
not
it.
watching your screen in the background.
Damn it.
So do not rely on
Okay.
that. Anyways, that's it. We're done. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next time with Curse of Puppet Master, which is goddamn awful. Good night.